Welcome on into Sports Memo Today, a Tuesday edition with two guys that are becoming my regular Tuesday guests here. You get to know the experts a little bit more each and every show here. Well, of course, we get you that actionable info you know and love all show long. Today, I got Eric, Pauly, and Dr. Chuck with me, and it's all football today. That's right. Football season is here. NFL Week 1 kicking off in just 2 days' time. So, exciting things going on here at Sports Memo. All kinds of bonuses, all kinds of specials that are up, loaded on sportsmemo.com right now. Of course, here on a Tuesday show, we got your Triple Play Tuesday. 3 best bets, only $5. We got Tim Michael, R&R Totals, and Cajun Sports. You can head on over to Sports Memo and get their plays for just $2 individually, or all 3 of them for $5. You want to get our guest plays as well because they love football heading into football season 2, guys. Proven profitable. So let's get into it with our first guest here, Eric Pauly. Eric, what's going on, my guy? Always fun. I called you out of the bullpen to hop on the show with us here. How's it going, brother?
It's going very well. Had a nice, relaxing 3-day weekend, but now it is all business. The NFL season kicks off on Thursday. Of course, the full slate happens on Sunday. So it is pedal to the metal until February on my end.
Yeah, man, forget about it. I hope you like that R&R that you had because our lives are over now that it's football season until it rolls into basketball season and then until it rolls into college basketball as well. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the 3-day weekend because that's about all you got coming your way, Pauly. So, man, before we get into these games, 2 plays that I'm really excited to hear you break down, one of which I have placed already. I want to start with, I believe – correct me if I'm wrong, you're a New York guy through and through, so I'm guessing you're like 4 for 4 up there. You got a favorite team in the NFL, and also, how dirty do you feel when you bet against your favorite team? Because I do it against the Eagles all the time, and honestly, I don't feel that bad about it, Eric.
Yeah, so I'm a New York guy through and through, but my dad actually grew up in the DMV, 20 minutes outside of
Oh,
D.C. So I'm a big Washington Commanders fan. That is my favorite team. My mood will be decided for the next 17 weeks solely based on the score of the Commanders, games this upcoming season. Basketball, New York Knicks till I die. Football, college football, Ohio State. Soccer, hockey, all those other sports. I don't have a real love for any team, even in baseball. I just love the sport. But talking football, I love myself some Commanders for better or for worse.
man, I feel for you. And like you, it's, do I call them the football team? Do I call them the Commanders? It's always, wait, what's this team's name this year before I get into handicapping them. So speaking of handicaps, Pauly, let's get into it and start with a prop bet. I love betting props. Honestly, come to NFL, it's probably props and teasers that are the main things that end up on my card. I just think there's a lot of potential edges, especially in those prop markets where you can maybe come into the game with a strong handicap and have itself play itself out, in props more so than a side or a total. So you have a receiving prop you want to get into, and this one's already on the move. So hopefully people are listening here on a Tuesday and can grab this one. What are you eyeing, Eric?
Yeah, so before this, I want to get into the second part of your question. I will gladly bet against the Commanders at any juncture where I do not think we have an edge in that football game whatsoever. I pride myself on kind of being an expert in my own team and being able to decide where the value lays, whether it is on my Commanders or it is against them. And something I did want to point out is last season I went 11-0 betting on props in Commanders games. That doesn't mean betting overs on Commanders players or unders on the opposing players. It means just finding value, whether it be a line that's undervalued for an opposing player, or for a line that's over or undervalued on my own team. So I love to dig into the prop market, specifically on Commanders games. Those lines are now coming out for Sunday's games for prop lines, so I'll definitely be digging into that, and we'll certainly have plays up. But for this prop bet and my first official play of the 2022 NFL season, I am going to take a wager on Allen Robinson over receiving yards against the Bills on Thursday. I got this number right when it was released at 57.5. Now at some sports books, it's sitting between 59.5 to 61. I would certainly recommend shopping for the best line available on that one. But the rationale for this play is kind of really, it's not trying to think too in depth about something that's pretty simple. The Buffalo Bills had the best pass defense in the NFL last season, but if you peel back the onion a little bit and take a look at the quarterbacks they faced last year, as well as some of the advantages they have of playing in Buffalo and that really crazy weather that of course happens in Western New York. The quarterbacks they faced last year were realistically god-awful. It was one of the worst quarterback circuits that any team had to go through. And, of course, the Bills, being a very good team, was able to make quick and easy do of that. But looking at this game, Trey White is on the injury reserve for the Buffalo Bills, so he'll not be suiting up. Their starting cornerbacks will be rookie Kaiir Elam, who has had a very up-and-down training camp, as well as Dane Jackson on the other side. And these two cornerbacks will be tasked with slowing down Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson. The Los Angeles Rams had one of the least efficient run games in the NFL last season. We know Stafford has a little bit of an elbow injury, but the fact that he's playing means I'm not too concerned about it, as I don't think anybody should be. But the Buffalo Bills, to succeed, are going to need to shut down Cooper Kupp by any means necessary. That means Allen Robinson is going to be open and he's going to have a third, second, or even fourth string cornerback guarding him all game long. Make no mistake about it, Allen Robinson is a much better player than Odell Beckham Jr. was last season with the Rams. He, of course, had his worst season of his career, but he was in Chicago with one of the worst and least creative offenses in the league. The number at 57.5, I think, is very low because he is the number 2 option. And on some teams, he'd be a number 1 option. And he's arguably a top 15 receiver in the NFL if you take away that recency bias from last year. Given the matchup and given how weak the Bills do look at cornerback, 57.5 to 59.5, so 60 yards receiving is not a high number. I think Allen Robinson very easily will hit that over on this upcoming Thursday, and that's where my first bet of the NFL season is placed. Allen Robinson over 57.5 receiving yards.
And you get it for free right here on Sports Memo Today. Now, I'm wondering, before we get to this second play, Eric, do you have any parameters on that? Like you said, you got it at 57. I doubt anyone's going to be able to find it at that number, even with multiple outs. So do you have a number that's like your cutoff, 62, around that, or where would you be comfortable playing this up to?
Fantastic point. I will be comfortable playing this up to 61.5, and that's if absolutely necessary. There are still 59.5s out there, so I would certainly look for those numbers. If you're seeing it at 62 or above, I would lay off, but I'm happy to see that the line was moving in my favor, that I definitely made a great bet seeing that the number went up immediately after I placed that bet. So I would certainly look to lay off at 62 or over.
So the cutoff point, definitely get it as low as possible. But once you get around that 61.5, that 62, just find a better option out there. He's Eric Pauly. You can find his plays, sm.buzz/EP. Let's get into this other play that you have, because people have to get it in by Sunday, because one of your specialties, man, is these season-long handicaps, the win totals over and under. And you want to break down a team that you should know well as a Commanders fan, the Cowboys, and their 10 even season win total. What do you think? Over or under on that one?
Yeah, so I'm going to preface this by saying this number is priced very efficiently, right? I don't have a huge edge. I'm leaning toward the under on the Cowboys this season, and it's not because I have a huge edge on this season win total. In general, win totals are very efficient, so you're not going to find a big edge anywhere. But I'm leaning toward the under on the Dallas Cowboys this season. For starters, Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore, that's their head coach and offensive coordinator duo, are two of the most overrated, if not some of the worst coordinators in the sport. Kellen Moore last season, he looked like he had a great year with his offense, putting up some pretty high electric numbers. I mean, second in passing yards per game, first in total yards per game, first in points per game. But something that he wasn't able to do was find his best players. And the player like Amari Cooper, who was arguably their number 1 option outside of CeeDee Lamb, did not get a high enough passing volume in critical situations when the game came down to the wire. So I'm expecting this offensive unit, with the injury to Gallup, of course, because they traded Cooper, to regress. But a big, big reason why I don't think this unit is going to have similar success this season is their offensive line. Tyrone Smith is out for a long time. They're looking at potential replacements, bringing back the Hall of Famer to be Jason Peters, who maybe this was 10 years ago would be a fantastic signing. But now I don't think Dallas did enough, because they lost some other pieces like Connor Williams and Lyle Collins and Ty Nakashi on their offensive line. It's not enough to keep them afloat. Defensively, Dan Quinn is a very good coordinator, and obviously Michael Parsons is great. But outside of Parsons, this unit is really nothing to really be too excited about. Dante Fowler was a pretty solid signing, and I like their rookie Sam Williams. But overall, this team is not giving me a big 10-win vibe. I mean, looking at the teams that have to play the NFC East, some of their rivals, the Eagles, Commanders, and the Giants, have very, very good defensive lines that are going to cause Dak Prescott and that offense a lot of issues. The rest of their season is very tough since they were the division winner last year. They have a very tough slate. They have easy games against Lions, Bears, Texans, Titans, Jaguars. So that might, Titans not as easy, but that might kind of help bolster that potential win total. But the NFC East, there's never a repeat champion, as I'm sure you know as an Eagles fan. I don't think that streak ends this season. I think the Eagles are certainly the better team. I could see the Cowboys ending at about 10 and really just pushing this total. But given this new injury news and kind of seeing how this preseason has shaped out, I would go under for the Cowboys, 10 wins this season.
That last NFC East back-to-back winner, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles, but that was like going on like 20 seasons ago. So it's been quite some time here in the NFC East. Eric, what do you have up heading on in to football season for tonight and just heading into week 1 and college football plays as well? What do you have up at your page over at SportsMemo?
Yeah, so for tonight, I have my top MLB play of the night. It's a 4% play in the Yankees Twins game, and that goes off at that 7 EST. But for NFL, stay tuned because I'm going to be putting out all access for my every single pick that I have out for Sunday's card. So you can get all of those plays on one special price on Sports Memo. That will probably become available either early tomorrow or later in the day tomorrow because a lot of the sports books in New York have now officially released props on the rest of the games that are happening on Sunday. Of course, those spreads have been out for a while, but now it's time to really make those decisions and place those bets. So I'm going to leave you all with a stay tuned. Make sure to check out Sports Memo and scoop up that week 1 all access.
Appreciate it, Eric. Always good chatting with you, my man. I'll let you head on your way as we get ready to bring in our second guest of the show that we have. And like I said, like these guys are my Tuesday guests, the riders that come on and give you some football plays each and every Tuesday. Up next, we got my guy, Dr. Chuck, coming on the show here on Sports Memo Today. Brother, it's always good to see you. The hair is always solid and coiffed. What's going on, brother?
Good to see you too. Yeah, it does seem like I like this regular spot. I can't argue with getting this regular spot on Sports Memo Today as we continue to just provide people winners. That's all we want to do across all the sports. But you brought it up. It's football time. That's what we're here for the most part on the whole of the 12 months. It's football. NFL is 2 days away, people. And yeah, who can't be excited about that as we listen to Eric break it down.
Yeah, and sure, it is football time, but for you and your clients, man, it's been tennis time, and you've been cashing at the U.S. Open. Before we get into some chatting here and some free plays that we got for the folks, what do you have up on your page? I know that you've been rocking with those U.S. Open. You have any of those loaded or anything you have up for NFL Week 1 or college football this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned it, the U.S. Open, the tennis period, both ATP and WTA, has really crushed for us this season. The U.S. Open has just even been the icing on the cake just for what we've done recently. We just hit another 10-unit. We're 3-0 with 10-unit tennis releases on the season and almost up 200 units just on the season so far. We have a play tonight in the men's quarterfinal with Kyrgios. Should be a crazy, lots of F-bombs dropped every which way on live television tonight. Good TV on ESPN. And we have a play for that, as well as semifinal plays and more quarterfinal plays tomorrow. But yeah, tennis doesn't stop. The U.S. Open is the last Grand Slam. Doesn't end there. It's a 52-week sport, and it's really lucrative and plus EV, especially as the books are looking just at football.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the money spends all the same, whether you get it on tennis, whether you get it on college football, it's always green and is always cashing the same. So you're talking about all these plays, all these different sports that you have. Before we get into your free plays here, we're going to talk a little Iowa State. We're going to talk a little Giants and Titans. I'll tell you what, man, I am a ultimately superstitious sports fan. When I played sports, I had weird superstitions too. So even when I'm betting, I find myself, well, I sat on this couch and it cashed last night, so I got to sit at the same spot. You have any weird superstitions, or you just worry I better have a damn good handicap to get these plays home? Or do you do a little bit of extra sprinkle to get some of these big ticket plays home?
Yeah, I have a lot of those, Dan. And it's funny what we do because we're a whole different breed. We're a whole different breed, like Joe D'Amico and I go back and forth. He can't watch a game. I can't not watch a game. And I suppose I end up a lot like Ace, just constantly looking at my phone. But it'll be almost to the point where, like you said, oh, wrong couch. Oh, I got to switch couches. Yeah, sometimes I'm like a turner offer. I'm like, all right, I got this. It's looking good. All right, it's gone the other way. It's because I'm watching. It's it's out. And so I have a lot of that, or vice versa. I don't have access to it. Looking at it on my phone, see it's going south, better find it and start watching it type of thing. But I know that that's a really big superstition in the gambling community, and I don't know what the problem is because I am rational enough to know the outcome would be the same if I had eyes on it or not. I can say that with my right mind here before we go into more superstitions here, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll get into some serious stuff, but I can tell you the one time I watched the rest of an Eagles game through the slit of a porter potty because they were getting killed by the Seahawks. They started coming off. They still ended up losing the game, which should have been the point that I knew literally nothing that I'm doing matters at all. But I still did it regardless, and I will continue to do it.
We all know we need therapy, and if we can admit it,
absolutely.
I think asking ourselves if we're insane proves that we're not insane.
Yeah, exactly. Admitting it is the first step, and then you can just skip all the other steps and you're good. So, brother, let's get into some of the free plays here that we have for the folks. So starting college football, since this one goes a little bit earlier than your Sunday play, Iowa coming off of just a heart-pounding game. A lot of excitement in their 7-3 win over South Dakota State. Now they're playing Iowa State. It's them versus the Cyclones. How are you betting this one? You looking towards the home team, or do we have a barking dog here?
I love what you said about that rousing Hawkeye offense putting up 7 points against South Dakota. Right off the bat, and I'm sure that you are similar to this, Dan, just right off the bat, 3? Okay, 3.5. Some outs opened it at 3.5. So you're telling me we learned everything we need to know about Iowa State against Southeast Missouri State and Iowa against South Dakota State to prove that if this was not in Iowa City, it'd be a pick'em? No. Right off the bat, that just reeks. I make this in Iowa City 6 or 7. And so the fact that Vegas is telling us that it's an even, I guess Vegas is just really hopeful that Matt Campbell can eventually beat Kirk Ferentz. But if he couldn't beat Kirk Ferentz with Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, and Charlie Kolar last year and a good defense and one of the best teams that he's ever fielded, he's not going to beat him when he lost everybody. I'm really, really big over the summer and heading right into the early weeks of September and TARP, which is the transfer and returning production of players they had last season. Iowa State is the doldrums. They've lost 7 overall. They're a -7. They're a -5 on offense. They lost 2 of the offensive linemen on top of their top tight end, running back, and quarterback. I mean, I guess Hunter Decker's looked good, and what am I supposed to take from that against Southeast Missouri State? Kirk Ferentz is pretty upfront about the fact that he didn't bother worrying about improving the offense. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised. They only beat them 7-3. Still would have been enough to cover. Iowa State's not a ton better on offense, despite what they did against Southeast Missouri State, than South Dakota State. Matt Campbell's never beaten them. He couldn't even beat them last year. Last year looked like the absolute lowest hanging fruit in the world. They still lost 27-17, and it wasn't even as close as 27-17 in Ames. And I can't fathom. I would probably have laid 6 or 6.5 here to get that sub-touchdown price. Iowa's defense and special teams is better than they were in 2021. And last year they got all the way up to number 2. I don't really play a lot into rankings, but when you're looking at Vegas, this is a team people remember was number 2 last year. Iowa State started off just dumpster firing their preseason expectations all along. And so I can't fathom how this is 3. I can't fathom how it's not jumping up as we see so many lines move in college football. And so I don't know if somebody's missing something or somebody knows something. I don't think that's the case. I think it's just a boring Midwest Iowa versus Iowa State in Iowa City. Kids in the Children's Hospital are going to be waving bye-bye to Matt Campbell as he loses for the 6th straight time to this Kirk Ferentz team, who has been the head coach, I think, since Newby was born.
Yeah, you're probably right there. And hey, 7-3 still gets that one home. 3.5 in the hook. Probably it's just people turned off by what happened in the first week. They're saying, how good could this Iowa team be? I think some good points there made by our friend Dr. Chuck. And grab his best bets right now at SportsMemo.com. Somehow last week, dude, you talked my ass into playing a parlay. Like, I had a parlay in the NFL placed 2 weeks before the season started. So that's the persuasion that my guy, Dr. Chuck, has. Please tell me you have a straight bet in NFL for the folks today that isn't going to want to make me, take some Tums and antacid. What do you got?
Right. Yes, you can step off the ledge. I'm just giving you a spread play here, and it's more of a simple numbers, similar to what I was saying with the fact that you're trying to tell me Iowa State is an equal team to Iowa in week 2. That's what the line is telling me. If you're only giving Iowa a regular home field advantage, here you're going to tell me that the team that Mike Vrabel doesn't get his teams off to hot starts. They're 2-2 straight up. They've only covered once. Some bad losses. Last year, Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury came in mostly sight unseen, not sure what we were going to get, and wiped the floor with the Titans. But it didn't stop the Titans from still finishing with the top record and home field advantage throughout. Well, so good for them. But what has changed is the fact that this is still Ryan Tannehill and Mike Vrabel coming out for a home opener in Nashville, bringing in a team everybody loves to hate. I mean, we talked about how we're encompassing this entire division on this show. Newbie loves to fade his Eagles. Pauly will gladly fade his Commanders and faded the Cowboys on the show. I am going to back the Giants because everybody wants to fade them. And so if you're telling me Vegas is willing to throw up a 6, now it's sometimes at some shops it's down to 5.5. What did Vegas really want to hang up there? You know what I mean? So I'm thinking this is more of a signifier that they wanted to put up a 4.5. Knew they couldn't get away with something like that for liability purposes. We're looking at a team with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, if you trust him, and a Traylon Burks as the number 1 receiver experiment. He's their draft pick from the first round of this season. Maybe, I guess, you're calling Robert Woods the number 1 receiver. Sure, they have Derrick Henry, so I guess you could just turn around, hand it off to Derrick Henry. Brian Daboll maybe is not going to be the answer as the Giants continue to do the Browns thing and just try a new coach every couple years. But I think he deserved a job. He did a really great job in Buffalo with a really similar quarterback. Daniel Jones doesn't have the arm that Josh Allen has because nobody does, but he has the same prowess, technique. He can run it. You can call planned quarterback draw runs. You can mess with the Titans defense all day long. And I don't know what they're trying to prove. If they're just trying to take football back to 1996, good for them. They don't have any receiving core. Austin Hooper is their tight end. This is going to be a 65-35 run offense. Bad weather is projected to be there as well. I'll take this 6 all the time. 60% trend just early in this season, this big of a home dog non-division. And I just home favorite, road dog non-division. And I think we have a little bit of a live dog here with a team that is put up or shut up. Saquon Barkley's back. Brian Daboll knows that you only have to have one bad season in New York to get fired. And Daniel Jones, there's no way Daniel Jones is getting another season after this in New York if he can't turn it around now. And I just think playing like your hair's on fire is what I want to see. And the Titans didn't perform in the playoffs, but they know what they can do in the regular season because they got hammered last year to start off the season. And so fat and happy, not a tough division. Giants playing a really tough division. Everything about this just tells me that this probably should have been 3 or 4, and you're getting a lot of value with 6.
So the good news is you don't have a second leg to have to get this one home. The bad news is you have to back Daniel Jones. I don't hate it, though. I like the handicap. It is going to need some Tums, though. One of the special, prescription plays that Dr. Chuck loves coming on here with, but handicap rock solid on that one. Brother, what do you have up tonight? I know we talked about it at the top, but just remind people what they can get over at your page heading on into football season and with tennis still rocking with you.
Yeah, tennis, it is dwindling, unfortunately. Guys are already into the semis. Casper Ruud just went into the semis, and so we're going to have four players left on each side. But tonight, Coco Gauff is going, and that's pretty exciting. I have tennis up for tomorrow already as well. Baseball, of course. We have a handful of football plays already up, and we always get into the props as Friday and Saturday hit. So there will be a props package as well. Off of a 5-unit college football win last week, and we nailed the score. But as transparency goes, the rest of it was a dumpster fire. So we're going to turn it around and bounce back this week. And hopefully we can start with a little bit of Iowa just housing the Cyclones yet again.
That's what we hope for. So free plays abound. He's Dr. Chuck. Big thanks, brother, for coming on here. Head on over to sportsmemo.com right now. Grab his plays and Eric Pauly's best bets as well. While you're there, why not get the Triple Play Tuesday? Only $5 for Tim Michael, R&R totals, and Cajun Sports best bets for today. You can get them all for $2 individually. Just spend the $5 and get all 3 of those best bets. If you enjoyed the show, hop on below. Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe. Let us know if you agree, if you disagree. And big thanks to my guests, Eric Pauly, and, of course, Dr. Chuck. I'm Dan Alexander, and we'll see you Thursday on Sports Memo Today.